Good afternoon, everyone. We welcome you to another webinar on legal metrology and legal metrology package commodity rules. We did a webinar few weeks back, and interestingly, the government notified few amendments in the legal metrology package commodity rule. So today we will be discussing the implications of those amendments in the businesses. This time, the government has made a conscious attempt to make some simplification in the law. Most of these amendments are targeted towards giving explicit information to consumer, and then they have tried to resolve few other issues relating to legal methodology. As we know that this law is applicable to FMCG, automobiles, electronic products, and so on. So in the overall amendments made in the legal metrology law, it has impacted the amendment which is required on import label. It has impacted the amendment which is required on manufactured label. They have introduced new units of measurement. They have done amendment in the way you would be writing an MRP. They have also introduced some additional requirements on the pricing part of the product. So today we will be covering these amendments in detail, and we will be discussing in brief how these amendments has an implication on the labels. We'll also discuss few practical problems which these amendments may pose if we go for the implementation of these amendments in the MRP label. So today I am accompanied by my colleague Raman, who will take forward this session from here.
Full question. So we did a poll relating to whether these amendments are in interest of consumers or in interest of industry. So we got result that 50% audience is in favor that these amendments are in interest of consumers, but 50% are saying that these amendments are not in interest of consumer. So basically these amendments are in interest are favorable for consumers, as well as some amendments are favorable for industry as well, but there are some additional declarations as well which can create operational difficulties for manufacturers. So now we will be discussing those amendments in detail. So first amendment is relating to a declaration, mandatory declaration on promotional items. So this requirement was already there in the LMPC rules. So the amendment is just they have shifted from rule 5 to rule 4. So the purpose of shifting is that is linked with the next amendment, that is a standard package. So rule 5 talks about the standard package. So there are some products in schedule 2 which has to be packed in a standard package like tea, coffee in a multiple of 25 grams. So but now government has omitted the rule 5. So there is no requirement post this amendment to pack this special product in a standard package only. So earlier there was also exemption to a manufacturer to pack in non-standard package, but earlier there was a requirement to declare on the package non-standard pack or non-standard size under LMPC rules. But now after omission of rule 5, there is no requirement, and further no declaration is required on the standard on the packages of specified products.
This amendment has somewhere helped the industry because a lot of time practically they wanted to give packages which are not standard, and most importantly some items are free. So we have seen the scenarios where at ground level officers have challenged the additional quantity, and matters have reached to the High Court on the point that whether if free quantities have been given or additional quantities given in the same package, will the overall weight be in compliance with Schedule 2. Though we had a favorable judgments on this point, but this amendment kind of simplifies the weight and packing requirement. Now, manufacturer is free to choose the weight of the particular commodity as per Rule 5, and this will hold true for other commodity as well. You talk about length, you talk about other items which were notified. All those requirements have been simplified.
Yeah. So this amendment is in favor of industry. Now, next amendment is relating to declaration of month and year on the package. So earlier there was option with the manufacturer either to declare month and year of packing or month and year of manufacturing. And in the case of imported product, there was a requirement to declare only month and year of import. But now government has uh, omitted the phrase, has removed the relaxation given for the declaring month and year of packaging or month and year of importing. So in all the cases, now the manufacturer or importer is required to declare month and year of manufacturing only. So there will be a increase in compliance burden for the manufacturer, because every time manufacturer would have to keep a track of a actual manufacturing date instead of packing date. Earlier, if there was no manufacturing date available with the manufacturer, so manufacturer could mention month and year of packing, but now he has to track mandatorily to mention month and year of manufacturing. But in the case of importation of product, there would be a greater difficulties. So like if someone has imported a pre-packaged commodity, so earlier he could write month and year of import, but now he has no option, unless he has no option other than writing month and year of manufacturing. So he would have to take the details of manufacturing from the exporter. So in some cases, it is quite possible that manufacturer exporter does not give those details to the importer, and there would be a difficulty when the importer is doing labeling at their bonded warehouse only in India. So there would be a more difficulty. Further, it is quite possible that importer is importing the product from trader who is an exporter in another country. So it would also increase the compliance burden, because actually exporter also does not have a detail of actual manufacturing month and year. So then trader would also have to contact with the actual manufacturer to get the detail of month and year of manufacturing in the case of imported packages.
So on an overall basis, it's going to be a big process change simply for the reason that today it was optional to mention the manufacturing date. One way to look at the intent of government is that government wanted consumer to be aware that whatever product they are getting, what is the time at which the product has been manufactured. Now, the real problem in implementation comes is that if we are talking about a manufacturer, we have seen that in most of the cases, labels are being imposed at the time of removal of goods from the factory. And that's a legally compliant position taken by them. So as a process, most of the time, the date in which the material is being packed is being mentioned. And since the warranty is actually linked with the sale invoice issued by the distributor retailer, so manufacturer didn't have any problem in the warranties and this compliance. Now, with this requirement, legally speaking, they have to track the date of manufacturing for each part. And the point to be noted that legal metrology does not talk about batch of product, it simply talk about retail sale. And retail sale would include sale of individual parts. So you have to track date of manufacturing for each part, which could be a cumbersome process. Second, if data part is being tracked, then there could be a scenario that in the warehouse the inventory pertains to different months. Let's say item manufactured in month one, month two, month three, those are being cleared in month four. So today the option was to the option was to mention date to be month four. Now there's a legal requirement to mention date to be month one, month two, or month three, which will require a process change and education to the person who are printing those labels. That would be the first issue. Second, in case of imported inventory, no, it was quite simple. You file a bill of entry, you have a date in which item is being imported. So a fixation of declaration of month of import was easy. A lot of time inventories are being pre-planned that okay, this would be the delivery schedule. Based on that, importers were sending MRP labels to the supplier. Now it is a vice versa situation. Now supplier has to track the date of manufacturing, which needs to be affixed on the imported label, which means there has to be a more diligent interaction between the supplier and manufacturer, supplier and importer. Most importantly, today supplier were not providing this information, so importer has to now reach out to supplier to figure out the date of manufacturing. The things become more complex if importer is buying commodities from trader, because now you have to go to the trader requesting that you need a manufacturing date on the label. So these are some practical challenges which will be faced by the industry if we have to comply with this amended requirement of month and year on the MRP label. One last thing is that we know that there has been a wide dispute that what qualifies to be a manufacturer or not. We have a lot of judgment under central excise as well. So to some extent, those problems will continue. In case you are buying a product and then there is a debate whether that is a manufactured product or not, and then there are operations, let's say a jumbo roll being cut into smaller rolls, then the question is which date will you put on the label? Is it the date of original jumbo roll, or is it the date of smaller jumbo roll? In case a view is taken that conversion is not a manufacturer, so then you are technically selling a smaller roll of paper, but the date of larger roll needs to be mentioned. So all those complexity will come in tracking of data manufacture in current scenarios.
So next requirement is format of declaring MRP. So earlier there were illustration given in the rule to declare MRP in a specified format. So but now those illustration has been removed. But the condition is now that MRP declaration must have three characteristics. One is retail sale price. Second is that is inclusive of all taxes. Third is MRP should be in Indian currency. If any format given on a package fulfill all these three conditions, then that declaration of manner of writing MRP is in accordance with LMPC rules. So old registration are fulfilling all the three conditions. So manufacturer has an option to continue with the existing format of manner of writing of MRP. Also, government has removed the requirement of rounding of paisa to the nearest rupee. So now manufacturer can mention rupee as well as paisa. So there are some examples for a new format of writing MRP. So now they can mention INR as well. They can mention in this way like RS 500 without any without any 00 after rupees, and further inclusive of all taxes can be written before the rate. So there were also dispute regarding the usage of special characters in writing the MRP. So now after this amendment, there will be no dispute regarding the uses of special characters because MRP would still fulfilling the condition three characteristics of MRP. So now after this amendment, manufacturer can use these special characters.
So yes, on an overall basis, it is a simplification since they have given more flexibility in types of writing MRP. And on the face of it, it looks like illustration can no longer be used, but that's not the way this amendment has ruled out. Illustrations, even in the pre-amended rules, satisfy all the conditions of the revised rule. So you can continue to use the MRP methods which were used before the amendment. So that suffice. That could suffice the requirement of amended rules.
Right. So again, we did another poll whether, so this is a new requirement, new declaration government has introduced for mentioning unit sale price. In addition to total sale price, retail sale price, MRP, government has come up with the new declaration unit sale price. So whether mentioning unit sale price would increase the compliance burden on manufacturer. So mostly audience are in that it would increase compliance burden, but 40 to 25% still say that it will not increase. So now we discuss the requirement in detail. So a unit sale price to be mentioned on package containing identical item. So we take an example. So if there is a kit which contains different parts, 2 or 3 parts, so that would qualify a kit, not a 2 or 3 M. So there is no requirement to mention unit sale price. So so manufacturer need to mention unit sale price only on packages which contain identical items.
So one more example to relate to this amendment. Suppose there is a package which contains 3 Dove soaps and it is a retail package. So as per Rule 6, MRP of all the 3 products needs to be mentioned. Let's say it's a package of which has an MRP of rupees 300. Before the amendment, there was no requirement to mention unit price, which means price for one article. After the amendment, there is a requirement since it is an identical product. So there is an additional requirement to mention that unit sale price is rupees 100 for 1 unit. And this restriction, like to what extent you will mention unit sale price, we have to freeze what is the unit of measurement. To that extent, price split will happen. Kit may have a different items; those are generally not identical. And kit as a product is one article. So unit sale price need not be bifurcated to SKUs or part level in a kit. It remains to be a price for one product as long as it is a kit.
So government has also given specific format to be used for mentioning unit sale price, like for volume products, like we need to mention rupees per gram if the quantity is less than 1 kg. And if the quantity is more than 1 kg, then we need to mention rupees per kg. And in the case of package containing more than one item, which are sold by number, then we need to mention rupees per number. And in the case of kit, like we discussed, that if there is a package containing 2 or more kits, then we need to mention the rate per kit.
So if we have to sum up like how this amendment has impacted, today we are only supposed to write MRP. That requirement will continue. We are not supposed to write unit sale price. Now we are supposed to write unit sale price after the amendment. So now additional declaration of unit sale price will come on packages.
So the question arises whether there is a legal requirement under LMPC rule to mention unit sale price. So in our view, government has come up with the specific formats to be used for mentioning unit sale price, but in the rules there is no requirement to mention unit sale price on the packages. Government has given only the formats to be used. So in our view, there is no requirement, but logically but our recommendation is that we should mention the unit sale price. Second, like we discussed for mentioning unit sale price in the case of kit. So if there is a kit containing different part, there is no need to mention specific unit sale price. So the now important question arises whether someone need to mention unit sale price even for the product containing 1 kg or one number. So logically, MRP stated on the package is also only for a 1 kg if there is a quantity 1 kg or one number. So, but so legally there is no requirement to mention unit sale price if the quantity is 1 kg or if the quantity in a package is only one number. But our recommendation is to again mention the unit sale price as well, which will be equal to total MRP.
Correct.
So now we come to next declaration, which is relating to change in manner of declaring quantity. So earlier there were two formats to mention quantity, either by writing N or U after the quantity. So like earlier before amendment, there was an option to mention 1N, 2U, 3N like this. But now government has come up with certain new units of measurement. So like set, pair, piece, or any other similar words. So like in the case of footwear, earlier there was option with the manufacturer to mention only 1N, and in bracket he could use one set to one pair of slippers. But now he has an option to mention one set or one pair on the footwear. Now he is not required to mention 1N on the same. So now,
So to make it more relatable, if you are selling one Dove soap in a retail package, today quantity can be expressed as 1N or 1U. Law permitted usage of these symbols to represent the quantity. This option is no more available in the law after the amendment. The units of measurement has to be written in numbers, which means if you are selling 1 unit of Dove, the declaration would be one number, not the symbol N and U. That is the first change which has happened. Second, they have introduced the other units of measure, which is a welcome move because there were controversies on items like uh, shoes, socks, etc., where in a normal scenario, anyone would be buying a pair or an article consisting of 2 units. And there was a debate whether it is 1 unit in form of pair or these are 2 units. So to avoid those controversies, they have introduced new units of measurement like pair. Same thing would happen for kids. So these things needs to be looked upon for each and every article where the article is more than one N, and depending upon the best unit of measurement, those changes needs to be introduced.
So, earlier, there is a still requirement to mention the description and quantity of all parts in a kit. So this will depend upon facts to facts, which product would qualify kit, or whether there are multiple commodities of the same type. So it will require examination of products to identify whether it would qualify kit or not.
So this has been one of the major problem for most of the auto components manufacturer. Like I'll give you an example. There is a kit of piston kit. It has multiple articles which comprises which convert into a kit. There is a legal requirement to mention details of all the quantities mentioned in the kit, and sometimes practically the numbers were so large that it was not possible to fix up or put up detail in single label. So most of the time there were two labels, one for MRP and second for the declaration of additional quantity. Unfortunately, a fixation of two label leads to violation of principal display panel concept. So those problems continues. These amended rules have not taken care of those problems, and there is still a requirement to mention the unit which are there in the kit, even though they have given an option to use units of measurement to be sets and pairs. But this major problem will continue to hold true even after the amended LMPC rules.
Right. So now we will discuss sample label. So before amendment, label looks like this, but after amendment, it will look, so the name and address of manufacturer will remain same.
So no change in the name and address of the manufacturer. It will continue.
No change in description of commodity. Yeah, so like we discussed, there is a change in manner of writing quantity. So earlier we could write 2n, but now we need to write full form of numbers, two numbers.
Now, one thing which can be discussed and deliberated is like these are NNUs are recognized unit of measurement. Uh, then there are standard units of measurement, so people would understand. I'll say those things are on logic, but in our experience, what we have seen, wherever information is being conveyed and which is also clearer to the customer, but if that is not clearly coming from the act or rule, then authorities generally tend to allege that it's a non-violation of the manner of writing. Because there is an explicit removal of this deeming clause from the rule that NNU cannot be used now. From authority perspective, it is a natural indication that this option is gone. There is no option which allows you to use unit of measurement in the smallest form. Hence, a natural outcome is you should start writing units of measurement in the normal form, which is two units, two numbers.
So coming to next declaration, that is earlier manufacturer had an option to declare packing month and year, but now he has only option to mention manufacturing month and year. And again, like for MRP, there is additional requirement to mention unit sale price. And further, if you can see that even PESA can be mentioned along with rupees.
Just one thing, the usage of symbol rupees, RS, that is permitted. There is no change in that. And like we discussed, you can still go and use the old format of writing MRP. The additional requirement is that now with the MRP, you have to write per unit price as well.
So last, there is no requirement in detail of customer care. Yeah. So what should be the way forward for manufacturers or importers? So every manufacturer or importer should assess the implication of these changes on their businesses, like what procedural changes are required in their IT system, or there should be a proper transition and implementation plan, because these amendments are from April 1st, 2022. So that there should be a proper training to internal teams so that while affixing or while printing the MRP labels or affixing the same on the package, they should be aware of these changes. Then on the same, professional support can be taken where the manufacturer needs keep to implement these changes or providing training to the internal teams. And last, there is also a scope of filing representation before the government to discuss about these changes and the implication, or because there is a gap between the notification and implementation date, so the manufacturer has an option to filing representation before government to make any further changes in these amendments.
From the amendment perspective, this seems to be the limited amendment, 4 5 amendments, but in our experience, MRP and quantity is the only area where more than 90% of the notices are being issued by the department. Because name and address, customer care are the most simplest thing to give on MRP. So those things are generally compliant. These two areas are there where there is a subjectivity and non-compliance. And unfortunately, the LMPC rules have made major amendments in these areas only. Second, as and when there are amendments which has a direct impact on label, in our experience, it generally takes 3 4 months to properly implement those changes. It is simply for the reason that it is not just an invoice change in the system. You have to map each and every SKU. You have to introduce IT changes. Most importantly, there has to be a transition plan because these changes cannot happen overnight. Then there has to be an inventory planning because it is not a scenario that one fine day will decide to change declarations on packing material and start putting labels. Plus, since there are interaction with lot of processes in a system, be it the legal team, be it the procurement team, be it the IT team. So this actually becomes a wholesome project where everybody has to play a role. Then on few things, we have seen that those are most complicated quantity items like we discussed about sets, kits. Now, what is a kit? What is a set is something which has to be identified because simply there are additional item would not mean that it becomes a kit or a set. There is a concept of wholesale package as well, which has more than one article. So wherever you have more than one article in the package, then it definitely warrants a relook today. We have seen a scenario where debate what is a wholesale package, what is a transportation box continues even today because there is a requirement to mention declaration on wholesale package which is not there on the transportation box. So this amendment gives a clear heads up that there is a need to revisit, relook at the existing disclosures, and then depending upon the requirement, those disclosures would be made. Most importantly, apart from the legal changes or disclosure changes, there has to be a proper transition plan. In case there is no proper transition plan, then after the notification of amendments, in case inventories are being moved which are non-compliant, then we know that it has various consequences, including seizure of those packages, which ultimately has an impact on supply chain, apart from the penal consequences in the form of fine and penalty. So all those areas needs to be looked at. These rules ultimately has a far-reaching impact. It is more of a project for all the manufacturers and persons who are affixing MRPs on these inventory, and hence warrant a close look and dedicated team time from everyone. Thank you for your time to attend this session, and we'll soon be coming up with another round of webinar on this. Thank you and sign off from our side.